My cousins pulled a cruel April Fool's prank, telling my religious wife I was cheating. Now she checks my phone daily and warns she'll keep me if I ever betray her. I've been hitched to my wife for a few years now, and let me tell you, marrying her felt like a huge win. She comes from a super religious family, and at first, they weren't exactly my biggest fans. They thought I wasn't religious enough and wouldn't respect their traditions. It took nearly 2 years of proving myself to win them over. So, that was a pretty wild time with lots of drama and tears. On another note, my cousins and I are super tight, almost like siblings. We grew up in the same neighborhood and spent summers being goofballs, riding bikes, playing video games, and pulling pranks on each other. Most of them were pretty silly. Even though we don't hang out as much anymore, we still keep up with each other in our group chat, sending memes and catching up. Just a few days ago, my cousins decided to drop by unannounced with a whole crew of friends. There were 3 cousins and 7 of their friends, and they suggested we all hang out. I was totally up for it. My wife was a bit unsure at first, but she got on board when she saw how pumped I was. We ended up having a blast cooking and drinking together. We made tacos, each of us had a job in the kitchen, and my wife whipped up her famous guacamole that everyone loves. The kitchen was chaotic but filled with laughter and jokes. However, knowing my cousins, I should have seen the prank coming. They've got a history of pulling stunts, especially when drinks are involved. Fast forward to later in the evening, things got a bit wild with tequila shots flying around. While I was chilling in the living room with the guys, my wife suddenly charged in looking like she'd seen a ghost. She yanked me aside and asked if I was cheating on her. I was totally blindsided and had no clue what was going on. I reassured her I'd never cheat, but she wasn't buying it and demanded my phone. She locked herself in the bedroom with my phone while the rest of us sat in awkward silence. My cousins were smirking, and that's when it hit me, this was their doing. After she finally came out, my wife, still fierce but calmer, warned me what she'd do if I ever cheated. Turns out, my female cousins and their friends had joked about me cheating as some sick April Fool's prank. My wife didn't find it funny at all, especially since marriage is a big deal in her culture. My wife kicked everyone out, and I just stood there unsure of what to do. I didn't support my wife as quickly as I should have, and that was a big mistake. After they left, my wife let me know in no uncertain terms how serious cheating would be to her. I tried to reassure her, but she pointed out that trust shouldn't depend on checking my phone. We ended up sleeping in separate rooms that night, which had never happened before. The next morning was super awkward. She was quiet, and I didn't know what to say. So, here's what went down. I apologized again for my cousin's dumb behavior, but she just nodded and got on with her day. I could see she was still hurt, and her staying quiet about it was even more worrying. Later, my cousins started bombarding me with texts, complaining that I shouldn't have let my wife kick them out. They thought I should tell her it was just a prank and that she was overreacting. I was like, that was a crappy prank, what on earth did they think would happen? Who jokes about someone's spouse cheating and expects everyone to just laugh it off? My phone wouldn't stop buzzing with messages, particularly from my older cousin Jake, who was really pushing it, saying stuff like, "It's April Fool's. Everyone pranks." We didn't think she'd take it so seriously. I tried to explain that my wife comes from a different background and this kind of joke really struck a nerve, but they just weren't listening. I told them they're not welcome at my house for a while after what they pulled. Now, they're calling me and my wife crazy, and even accused me of being under her thumb because I stood by her. One of them even dared to say, "If you can't take a joke, you shouldn't be around people." Seriously? I really don't think my wife is wrong for being upset, but my cousins are acting like we're the ones making a big deal out of nothing, and now there's all this family drama. My mom called me yesterday, saying I should forgive my cousins because that's just how they are and they didn't mean any harm. But to me, it's not about their intentions, it's about the harm they caused. It's like someone accidentally breaking your TV, they might not have meant to, but you're still left with a busted TV. When I tried explaining this to my mom, she sighed and brought up that time they put blue dye in my shampoo before prom, like it's the same as accusing me of cheating. I hung up feeling even more frustrated. My wife and I have been through a lot just to be together. Her family almost cut her off for marrying outside their faith. We really had to go through a whole lot of discussions with her family and religious leaders before getting their blessing, and there were conditions I had to agree to, like raising our kids with knowledge of her faith. It was a big emotional ordeal for both of us. So, for my cousins to joke about something that serious felt like a huge slap in the face. I don't know what to do now. My brother thinks I'm overreacting and that my wife needs to chill, but he wasn't there, and he's always been closer with my cousins. I've got a family dinner coming up for my dad's birthday, and I'm dreading it. My cousins will be there, and it's going to be super awkward. My wife doesn't want to go, and I feel like her not going might just make things even worse, but if I insist she comes, it could strain things between us. For a couple of days, nobody talked to me about this drama, and I thought it was dying down, but then Jake's wife messaged my wife on Facebook, even though they're not friends, telling her to stop being so dramatic. Now, my wife's more upset, and I feel like we're back at square one. I'm stuck between my family and my wife, and it's the worst. I love my cousins, but I love my wife more, and she's the one who got hurt here. I wish everyone would just realize that and move on. So, am I wrong for standing by my wife on this? I can't believe how this all blew up. Thanks for all the comments, even the ones calling me an idiot for not taking my wife's side from the get-go. I've gone through a lot of the comments, and there's some stuff I want to clear up. First, some folks are saying my wife is controlling because she checked my phone. She's not usually like this, it was just because she was told by a bunch of people that I was cheating, who wouldn't want to check. Before this, she'd never even asked to look at my phone, even though she has the password for emergencies. Second, for those saying I should have kicked my cousins out myself, you're right. I told my wife that. I froze up and didn't react fast enough, and I regret that a lot. I was just so shocked I didn't know how to respond, and that's on me. I've apologized to my wife for that. Third, for anyone saying my wife overreacted, you need to get that in her culture and religion, cheating isn't just a personal betrayal, it's a moral and religious failure. It's not something to joke about. Imagine someone joking about something that goes against your deepest values, and maybe you'll get it. Anyway, since my original post, a lot has happened. I've been trying everything to convince my wife to forgive my cousins, but she's not budging. She still checks my phone now and then and seems to be keeping tabs on me, which makes me think she might still believe I'm cheating, even though I've told her over and over I'd never do that. Last week, I made her favorite dinner and tried to talk to her about it. I told her my cousins were idiots but didn't mean any harm. She just looked at me and said, if they didn't mean harm, they wouldn't have done something so harmful. And honestly, I had no comeback for that. My cousins have tried reaching out to her directly to say it was a prank, a bad one, but still a prank, only making it worse. They somehow got her email and sent a group apology that really wasn't an apology. It was more like, we're sorry you took it the wrong way, which isn't the same as we're sorry for what we did. My wife got even angrier and told me she didn't marry me just to find me with other women. So, my wife showed me this email that was super condescending. They basically said something like, hey, we get that you're from a different background, but our family jokes a lot. Like that somehow makes everything okay. My wife is really religious, and marrying her was a big deal for me because we faced all sorts of hurdles. She even fought with her family just to be with me. I totally get why she's sensitive about this stuff. Her parents didn't speak to her for 3 months after she told them about me. They only started coming around after meeting me a bunch of times and seeing I respected their customs and traditions. Even then, her dad gave me that classic if you hurt her, there will be consequences speech right before our wedding, which I totally promised wouldn't happen. I finally sat down with my wife to ask what I could do to make things better. She flat out said she doesn't like my cousins and wants nothing to do with them. I asked if there's a way to make peace, and she explained that in her religion, even talking about cheating is a big no-no. My cousins had crossed a line, and she even half-jokingly said she'd kill me if I ever cheated after everything we went through. When a woman in her culture marries someone outside their faith, it already raises eyebrows, and my cousins suggesting I'd cheat felt like confirming their worst fears. It hit her hard because it wasn't just the prank, it was what it represented. She says she trusts me but is deeply hurt and is handling this herself. She wants me to avoid my cousins, which I'm trying to respect. Meanwhile, my cousins are texting me, telling me to control my wife and saying she's overreacting. One even said, it's not like we accused you of murder, it was just a joke about cheating. They don't get it. They keep bringing up other pranks they pulled on me, like replacing all our family photos with Nicolas Cage pictures, which was pretty hilarious, or filling my car with packing peanuts. But those were at my expense, not my wife's, and didn't touch on sensitive subjects like infidelity. The other day, I awkwardly bumped into Jake, one of those cousins, at the grocery store. He acted like nothing happened, chatting about work, and when I was cold to him, he got all defensive, saying, "Are you seriously still mad? It was weeks ago." My wife is still angry, and I thought it'd blow over by now, but it hasn't. My cousin's really struck a nerve, and she's not budging. I'm stuck in the middle, and it's exhausting. Some extended family thinks I'm choosing my wife over blood relatives, which isn't helping. My aunt, who's my cousin's mom, called to lecture me about family loyalty, saying blood is thicker than water. I wanted to correct her with the full phrase that actually means chosen bonds are stronger, but I didn't want another argument. My wife and I are in this weird phase where we avoid talking about it. We go to sleep at different times, she stays up late reading or praying, and by the time she's in bed, I'm already asleep. Or I'll stay up late playing video games, and she's asleep when I come to bed. It's not healthy, but I don't know how to fix it. I tried to bring it up last night, but she shut me down, saying, "I don't want to talk about your family, they've caused enough problems." I see her point, but I don't want this to be a permanent rift. My cousins can be idiots, but they've been a big part of my life. Then again, my wife is my family now, and she's the one who got hurt. Shouldn't her feelings come first? But if I cut off my cousins completely, will I regret it? Like, what if we have kids? Will they never know their cousins over one stupid prank? These thoughts keep me up at night. I'm trying to find a middle ground, but it seems impossible right now. My wife's still hurt, my cousins are defensive, and I'm stuck in between. I'll update if anything changes, but for now, we're at a standstill. Update 2, sorry for the delay. Things have been really tense. I've been reading your comments and appreciate the support and advice, especially from those who think I'm handling this wrong. To address some points, no, my wife isn't crazy or overreacting for being upset. Trust is the foundation of our relationship, and it's clear some people haven't been in that kind of relationship. And to whoever thinks I'm in a religious cult, different cultures have different values, and they're not wrong for that. My wife's religious background is a big part of who she is, and I respect it. Anyway, I'm really tired of my wife periodically checking my phone. I think she's still suspicious of me, and I partially blame myself for not kicking my cousins out right away and standing up for her more strongly. Last week, she went through my phone while I was in the shower, I know because I saw the screen time notification later. She didn't mention it, but it bothers me that she still feels the need to check. I thought about confronting her but decided against it. She's still processing all of this, and I don't want to make her feel worse. I've always been close with my cousins, which is why I was forgiving, thinking they were just pulling an April Fool's prank. I genuinely thought she'd get over it, but she hasn't, and my cousins keep trying to downplay what they did. So, Jake shot me a lengthy text claiming I was blowing things out of proportion and that it was just a joke gone wrong. He also mentioned his girlfriend, who was at our house that day, thinks my wife is bossy for checking my phone. First off, how does he even know she checked my phone? I never said a word to him about it. Plus, his girlfriend met my wife only once and thinks she can already judge her? Give me a break. I finally sat down with my wife and straight up asked her what she wanted me to do about this whole mess. She had already told me before, but I wanted to make sure, so I asked her again calmly, promising to do whatever she decided. We were at our kitchen table, it was late around 11 p.m., and the house was all quiet. I made us tea, which was a bit of a throwback since we used to do that every night but hadn't in a while because of all the stress. It felt like a small step toward getting things back to normal. She opened up about how hurt she was by what my cousin said and doesn't want them around us anymore. She also wants me to keep my distance from them. As she was talking, I could see tears building up in her eyes, which just broke my heart. This whole ordeal has been so painful for her over a silly prank that wasn't even funny. I told her, I'm done with my cousins unless you decide otherwise. That's when everything got super emotional. She started crying and yelling, saying she didn't marry me to be humiliated like this. She shared how her family warned her that I might not respect their ways and could end up hurting her like this. Seeing her so upset was a first for me, it was as if everything she'd been holding in finally erupted. I hugged her and promised my love, assuring her she'd never have to deal with my cousins unless she wanted to. At the end of the day, if cutting my cousins off is what I need to do to keep my marriage intact, then so be it. I should have been more understanding from the start. My wife is super religious and devoted to me, and I was being a jerk about it all. We're doing a bit better now, she's still a bit distant sometimes, but we're talking. We've started eating dinner together again, which is a good sign. She even suggested we watch a movie together, the first time she's initiated a shared activity since everything happened. Meanwhile, my cousins have been bombarding my phone with messages, but I'm just ignoring them. One even showed up at our place, knocking for 20 minutes straight, but I didn't answer. Jake left a note wanting to apologize to my wife in person. I showed it to her, but she just handed it back without saying a word. It's probably too soon for any makeup session, if that ever even happens. My aunt called last night, saying I'm the reason our family is falling apart over some dumb joke. I told her maybe her kids should think before they act and then hung up. Not my finest moment, but I'm just over everyone acting like my wife's reaction isn't valid. I had a heart-to-heart with my brother, who's always the rational one in the family. After I filled him in, he agreed my cousins stepped over the line. He offered to talk to them for me, which I appreciated. Maybe they'll get it coming from someone else. I'm not sure what's next. Part of me is sad about maybe losing my cousins, but more importantly, I need to put my marriage first. They messed up big time, and they can't even properly say sorry or understand the damage they caused. Last night, we had dinner with my wife's parents for the first time since everything went down. I was nervous, but her mom asked why my wife seemed upset, and my wife spilled everything. Her dad looked at me with disappointment, like all his worst fears about me were playing out. I tried explaining over and over that I didn't cheat, that it was just a stupid prank. I'm not sure they fully bought it. On the way home, my wife was quiet, and then she said, "You see what this has done? Now my parents think you're exactly what they were afraid you'd be." That was a harsh realization of just how deep the repercussions of this prank go. For now, I'm sticking with cutting ties with my cousins. Maybe my wife will forgive them one day, but I'm not banking on it, and honestly, I'm not sure I want to forgive them either. This morning, my wife didn't check my phone while I was in the shower for the first time in weeks. It's a small thing, but it means a lot. We had breakfast together, and she even cracked a smile at something I said. It wasn't much, but it gives me hope that we'll eventually move past this.